Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome. This is Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. I am Henry Igwebike. Let's kickstart today. A beautiful day it is, the second in the day of September 2025. We kick off today with our newspapers, and right after that will be our main conversation also for today. Do well to be part of what we do. Have a say in what we say. You can always find us, reach us when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7. We're very so honored to have with us, joining us via Zoom, two distinguished guests. We have Adara Moye, Michael Lennon, National Coordinator Youth Right Campaign, who's joining us via Zoom. Good morning to you, Mr. Lennon. To you, Mr. Lennon. All right, I equally have Emeka Madunagu, a journalist, public affairs analyst, to see through all that we have. Good morning, Emeka.
Yeah, my pleasure. Good morning.
Thank you so very much for your time, both. I'd love us to start with the Punch newspaper this morning. And we have the big story, terrorism trial. Federal government may seek a mass repatriation after Finland 6-year jail term. We have two writers to that particular story, and one says government will take further action after judgment review. AGF ruling warning to extremist information minister. Emeka, I'd love us to take a part on this story. What's your take that finally Finland has done what it should do? What's your take on this?
Well, thank you very much. The ruling, excuse me, is a welcome development. Although, well, I noticed that a lot of Nigerians had reservations with the fact that the ruling didn't go as they expected. People had expected, owing to the gravity of the allegations against Simon Ekpa, people had expected maybe something like life imprisonment, a tougher prison sentence, but, well, be that as it may, at least he is going to do time for his horrible activities, against Nigerians. I mean, because the way he, stirred up violence, extremism, terrorism, in this country, it led to loss of lives. People were just killed, for no reason. And then at the end of the day, the same fellow so heartlessly said he was a content creator. So killing people was content. I mean, inciting people to go and kill others was content. That's horrible. But you see, the other thing in it is this one, the sentence, excuse me, the sentence is not 6 years like has been widely reported. The terms run concurrently.
So what does that mean?
I think it's just about maybe 3 years or something. And he has spent 9 months already in custody. So he may just be out within maybe around 2 years or something. A prison term counts for about 9 months or so. So having spent 9 months already in custody, that has counted for 1 year. And the terms run concurrently. So maybe within 2 years or maybe under 2 years, he'll be out. But the lesson, and then the other thing is that, the other thing there is this. Finland also supports the PKK rebels of Turkey. Finland does not actually does not ordinarily criminalize dissent.
In their home country, that is. You mean in their home country?
Yes. Even in the EU, dissent is not criminalized. Because if you also look at the history of Finland, you know, you will see some form of, dissent in it. I won't go into that right now because of time. But
Yeah.
but what Simon Ekpa actually went into, if he was just within the realms of, maybe provoking public discourse, dissent and all of that, Finland wouldn't really have done anything against him. That's why you saw it took them a long time. But by the time they were now confronted with evidence of things he had got involved in that directly instigated violence, that was when they now decided to act. I mean, he denied that, calling himself Prime Minister of Biafra government in exile. But the evidence was presented.
Yeah.
Then the statements he had made, the comments he had made, all of these things were presented, and other meetings, physical meetings, physical meetings he had with people who came from other countries, the meetings he had, physical meetings he had in some other countries, and the statements he made at those meetings. So those ones now showed, that yes, by his actions, by his utterances, he went beyond the ken of dissent, to instigating violence, terrorism, and extremism. And of course, the EU criminalizes that. So just to look at it, within, to contextualize issues. So I mean, what they have done is really welcome and is salutary. And we hope that other European countries and other in the Middle East, in Asia, will also deal with Nigerians, and not just Nigerians, with foreigners whose activities, whose utterances directly instigate. Okay, we're talking about Nigeria. Nigerians whose activities, whose actions, whose utterances directly instigate violence and extremism, killings in Nigeria. And it's not just about Simon Ekpa. Remember, some years ago, the United Arab Emirates jailed some Nigerians who were, accused of laundering funds for Boko Haram.
Yeah.
And then you note the international links of ISWAP. Then the other day now, this Al-Shabaab operating in Kenya, 5 men who were accused of being behind the killings, the killings of some people 5 years ago at St. Francis Catholic Church in Ondo Town, in Ondo State. They were said to belong to Al-Shabaab. So those international networks, I think the international community should help Nigeria to deal with those, foreign links, deal with their sources of financing, deal with their networks, deal with themselves wherever they are, And I think, and then if there are collaborators, when there are collaborators within Nigeria, make sure that such people are denied visas, make sure that such people are exposed, arrested and prosecuted. I think that will be those actions will greatly help in dealing with insecurity in Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, that's beautiful. You said it's a welcome development. To some people it is, to others it might not be, especially those and many who are sympathetic to the cause of Simon Ekpa. Mr. Lennon, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Sorry, all right, beautiful. Yes, so I would love you to continue this discussion from the perspective of activism. What Simon Ekpa started was activism and wanting to bring forward a cause that he felt that was germane and important. Unfortunately, activism went into terrorism. You are an activist yourself. When is activism too much for the person who is in charge of it? Are you there, Lenin? Mr. Lenin, are you there? Okay, I think we're having a little bit of a glitch there because I wanted to ask him, as an activist himself, I just wanted to have his view on when is activism, getting beyond the boundary of activism, which has led the Simon Ekpa, to the despicable situation he's been in. Are you still there, Lenin? I think we are losing you right now. You're not audible enough.
I actually missed some part of your question. So
okay, but can you hear me now? We hardly can hear you too. Your other end is really breaking. Can you hear me very well now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Lenin? Okay, I think we're still having a little bit of a glitch there. I don't know if you can hear me really. So my question basically is, can you hear me, Lenin? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So while we try to bring back Michael Lenin, to the show, because it's very important that this question he gets to answer you. But Emeka, since you're still there, Michael Lenin, if you would recollect, is one of the members of the End Bad Governance forum or pact that were there to ensure that bad governance wasn't what should be practiced in Nigeria. He is an activist himself, and I wanted to ask him what he felt about when activism becomes too much and possibly transition into terrorism. I do not know what you think about that, Emeka.
Yeah, I think honestly, it would be unfair to Michael Lenin and genuine activists, genuine comrades, to group them together with a despicable character like Simon Ekpa. I'll really plead for that distinction to be made. These are genuine compatriots, who organized the End Bad Governance protests. These were genuine, patriots. They wanted, bad governance to end. And of course, they went about it, as a decent, protests. Yes, which the, constitution allows. All over the world, protests are allowed. But Simon Ekpa exploited a loophole, the loophole that arose when Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, when he was renditioned from Kenya to Nigeria in June 2021. So Simon Ekpa now went on, a disastrous voyage. So I wouldn't, of course, put such a criminal. The guy was just a criminal. I mean, look at his activities. The Nigerian government has unfairly appropriated to itself, the efforts that were made that resulted to Simon Ekpa's arrests, prosecution, and eventual conviction. Do you remember that there was a time the Finnish police authorities actually asked people to send in petitions, that they will, for them to look into, and then now take a decision on whether to arrest him. There was a time that happened.
Yeah,
it happened, and thousands of Nigerians responded to that petition because they provided an email. Thousands of Nigerians responded to that call. They sent in petitions, and it was on the basis of that that they now joined the request from the Nigerian government, together to begin prosecution. Remember, the Nigerian government was actually asking for his repatriation to Nigeria to face trial. And his lawyer said no, that he will be denied a fair hearing. So we have to make a distinction, in this thing, so that, we don't lose the true story, in the course of reacting emotionally. Simon Ekpa's issue, actually brings us to the point that, of sober reflection. Was he acting alone? Because there have been claims that some Nigerian politicians, some wealthy Nigerians were actually behind some of these activities. And that some of these activities were used to, further money laundering, trafficking in human organs, and some other heinous crimes. But these have been apparently swept under the carpet, in the euphoria that, he has been convicted. But I hope I hope it will become necessary to look into those other areas. Because these things, you saw some days ago, I think the UN gave the number of Nigerians missing, about 23,000 plus missing. So you can imagine, how did these people disappear? Where did they disappear to? 23,000 people? That's a huge number. Too many Nigerians are missing. How are they missing? Where are they? Have they fallen victim of human trafficking, of organ trafficking, of organ traffickers? Have they fallen victim to human traffickers? Or are they being held in conditions, in inhospitable conditions against their will, without trial? So these are things that should provoke continuous, discussions, so that we can have a decent society where the likes of Simon Ekpa will not find accommodation. Thank you.
Very, very true. It's very important that we distinct the difference and, of course, make it known. When people are dissent and campaigning for just cause, like we saw in South Africa with Nelson Mandela, who was there and acting and asking for a peaceful demonstration. Today, South Africa is doing well, is reaping from the dividends of what Nelson Mandela has brought on the table, rather than having it become violent and not so good. Lenin, are you there? I don't know if he's there. Are you there, Mr. Lenin? Okay, I think he is still not available for us. But Emeka, let's take a look at other matters still. Can you hear me? Your line is breaking. Seriously.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I just hope that
yes,
that this line will not break any longer. Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I think I can hear you now.
Okay, beautiful. So just before we move on to the next story, I had wanted your take on my question. If you didn't get it, I'd love to repeat it again. And the question is, when is activism too much of activism that it possibly transitions to what we see with Simon Ekpa?
Well, thank you very much. I heard the answer provided by Mr. Chukwemeka, and I think he made a correct and clear point, of which I would just have to reiterate. I think this is also very important, and I would like to, by coincidence, today, September 2nd, makes it a year that myself and about 9 other Nigerians were arraigned in court for charges of treason and terrorism. So, the question then becomes very important, for a kind of discussion like this, that is activism different from terrorism? Or, put it, at what point do we draw the line between activism and terrorism? But I don't think there's any line, really, because the methods and programs and activities of activists or people who are social crusaders are very clear, unlike people who are, in a way, making rhetorics or even directly involved in terrorist activities, which is why, despite after a year, the government has not even been able to nail us with any evidence of being involved in any terrorist act. Unlike people like Akpan, where you can find, evidences even in their rhetorics. But for us, despite those charges being levied against us, the government still could not even bring out even the slightest of any evidence against us. Also that clearly the right to dissent is clearly different from terrorism, and government should not try and in a way charge activists with I mean, in a way, or even give such label to activities, because in a way, it tends to undermine what terrorism really is. Because today, the government does any activist who has issue with the government, you tend to be charged with either treason, terrorism, mutiny, or whatever charges, which are very big offenses. If I don't just trivialize them because you have issues with activists and then you want to punish them, and then you tend to trivialize these terrible offenses like treason, like terrorism. So I think the line itself is clear. And Nigerians, not just activists, all of us, we all have the right to dissent. We all have the right to our own opinion, and we also have the right to peacefully assembly in protest or any other method to fight is peaceful, and which has been the method of many of us who are activists. So we are clearly, of course, different from people who engage in terrorist activities.
All right, beautiful. I am very equally so excited that with the new Cybercrime Act that has been amended and repurposed, I just hope that that will not be a conduit for the government to further exacerbate their holding down of dissent in one way or another in the form of treason and terrorism, most definitely. Lennon, I would still love to continue with you on this particular matter, but on another story this time around. Nigerian embassy is hit by unpaid rent, salary, and arrears. It's 3 years down the line. Very soon, President Bola Tinubu will be gone with the first term of his administration, and yet no country in the world where Nigeria has embassies do have ambassadors there. And right now, to worsen the situation, the embassy is available. The federal government can't pay rents and equally cannot pay salaries. Do you think President Bola Tinubu understands why diplomatic issues should be taken seriously?
Yes, I think, thank you very much. What we have here is a global embarrassment to the country. Because if you look at even many of the countries, the third world countries like Nigeria, I doubt if there's any country that is faced with this kind of situation. And in fact, that is not to say that once you have ambassadors in a way, it's automatically aid diplomatic relation between countries. No, it does not. But they are one of the things that you expect of a nation that is organized and has responsible leadership, at least to be able to, in a way, it reflects the nature of seriousness of the government in charge. Because in a way, our embassies in other countries are like our posts there. They're like people who represent us, who in a way which reflects what our nation is like in other countries. So because the first point of call, if you relate with Nigeria, or if you're a Nigerian in other countries and you have issue, your first point of call will be your embassy. Your first point of call will be to go to your embassy. So I mean, and this is a country where we have many Nigerians scattered almost in every part of the world, which I mean that unlike many other countries, we are in dear need of such facility and such personnel to be available. So that if you don't have that, it then means that many Nigerians will be faced with a lot of problems. I mean, the challenge in terms of sorting out their documents, in terms of even renewing some documents, and also in terms of even trying to access justice in a foreign land. Because just like I said, your first point of call anytime you have issue in a foreign country will be your embassy. Will be to go and lodge complaint in your embassy. So that if you don't have that in place, it shows that Nigerians who are in other countries are at risk. So that it is like like I said, it is a big embarrassment to our nation as a whole that for years, for more than a year, we do not have. Not just that we do not have ambassadors, is that even now become difficult or even possible to even pay the rent and find even the staff who are working there. I mean, I've not seen a situation as terrible as that for any nation before. I wish itself, in a way, brings us to everything we've been saying about this present government, because all of the things that ought to become necessities.
Are you still there?
Neglected.
Okay.
have on many occasions been neglected. Many things which ought to be necessities, which ought to be norms, have been neglected by the government, which shows clearly that everything we've said, even because if you look at the government, in the last 2 years, you see that it has been clearly a sorry state for many Nigerians who are even in Nigeria. But the problem has not really stopped with us who are even living in Nigeria. Even those who are outside now, like I said earlier, are now also at risk, because it meant that Nigerians will not have access to some basic things that they need. It makes it much more difficult, and it is also was about a week ago, increased the cost
The
of
passport, yeah.
visa. Passport rather, cost of passport. And then the argument was that it was just meant for Nigerians or so. But if you feel that Nigerians need to access other countries, and then they do not have the most basic thing which a country should have in a foreign country, which is an embassy, a land of its own, offices of its own, personnel of its own, and if you do not have it there, what then is the basis of the visa itself, the passport itself? What then is the basis? Because the passport is meant to be your access to other countries too. But if in those countries you do not even have your own ambassadors there, you don't have personnel who are working for your country there, what then is the essence of that? And also, we also need to question all of the foreign trips that the president has had in the recent period. Because aside President Bola, late President Bola, I think Tinubu will be one of the presidents who has traveled most. Although this is just his second year, so we don't know yet if he's going to travel more than late President Bola. But he has went on different trips, even to countries where he was not invited, either for medical reasons or so. But he has almost traveled around the world. And the most basic thing for a country to have its own ambassadors and also a functioning embassy, we do not have that. I think it speaks volume of all of the atrocities of this administration and how far in a way drag the entire nation down.
Very, very true. Very, very true. It's so very important that we make all of these things known, because if the president has everything it takes to travel around the world, then the big question is, why is he equally not making such opportunity available for Nigerians, especially ensuring that embassies and consulates in different parts of the world are taken care of? Emeka, I'd love you to take a beat on that particular story, and maybe you might add this particular story as we wrap up for today. 600 million monthly diaspora remittances, proof of reform, good reform that is, and federal government is stating. President Bola Tinubu is doing an awesome job, is what they have stated, because Nigerians in diaspora are bringing in more money, $600 million every month. Emeka?
One of my friends this morning, we're having a discussion, and he said he has never seen a government like this one that fights its own policies. You are the same government saying that Nigerians living abroad should come back, that the country has improved. You are the same government saying that Nigerians should not relocate overseas, that the country is okay. You are the same government at the same time, on the other side, now saying that, that your reforms have brought in more money. You see, the way they enjoy giving mixed signals is really embarrassing. There is no reforms that have brought in money. Nigerians living abroad have been working, earning money and sending money. Of course, you know that 70% of the money sent to Nigeria is actually for welfare purposes. It's not basically because they believe in any Tinubu reforms or anything like that. People have been sending money from abroad. Anytime, at times when I traveled abroad now, over there, if there was a need to send money, home, I'll send money from there. So it's not, even though I didn't relocate, I was just on a trip. But if there was a need back home, I'll send money. So what are you celebrating? Which reforms are you celebrating? Are you celebrating that the employers of Nigerians, in jobs abroad have increased their salaries, or also because of Tinubu's reforms. What are they talking? There's no, since even before independence, Nigerians have been relocating abroad since the early parts of, a long time. Even as the early part of the 20th century. Yes, Nigerians have been looking abroad. If I think even in the 19th century, if we go back. So there is no big deal about your reforms concerning the money being repatriated. The point is this, like, the Labour Party presidential candidate in 2023, Mr. Peter Obi said something, which was very poignant. He said, look, a situation where 70 to 80% of the funds, Nigerians send home is spent on welfare. That if there is a favorable economic climate, back home, they can be encouraged to look beyond just welfare, to actually invest in vigorously in the economy, bringing in money to fund, to get treasury bills, bonds, and money market instruments that will go into the economy to fund commercial papers, to fund infrastructural projects, to even provide financing for private companies, to make it easy also for the foreign reserves, our foreign reserves, to rise more. This should be the talking points, not that people are sending money. They send money. Oh, I've not been able to pay. I've not paid my rent. Somebody send you money. I've not paid this. They send this. What? So what? The money, yes, it actually also contributes to the economy. Yes, but the fact of the matter is that you also need investment. Look at India. India last year, total diaspora remittance around the world was estimated to be around $905 billion. Out of it, India, I think, had about 40%. Because India uses its diaspora as a tool, as a major tool, as a strong tool for diplomatic engagements, for economic development. But here, what do? We'll see how we criminalize Nigerians abroad. And what are they doing? Those who are accused of drug trafficking are from a particular region of the country. Is that how you market yourself to the world? Is that why you market yourself to the world? Look at the Nigerian Diaspora Commission. What are they really doing in terms of engaging the Nigerian diaspora to say, wait a minute, we have somebody like Bayo Onanuga, one of the richest, a very wealthy Nigerian. He was an honorary economic advisor to former President Obasanjo. He later became an economic advisor, to Donald Trump in his first term. So somebody like that, you can say, okay, how do we engage him? How do we engage him? In which area and which area? And there are many more like that. Look at Nigerian professionals all over the world. How can we rescue our weak health sector? How can we do, interventions? You should go beyond just collecting money as if you are, as if you are just a cashier, a teller in the bank. Just collect money, stamp, and no, there should be actual engagement, and that is the problem I have with this administration. They've not been able to rise to the level of engaging Nigerians. What they do is just propaganda, broadcasting lies, broadcasting hate speech. That is not what we need, for crying out loud. That's not what we need. How can embassies be owing money? This problem has been there since Obasanjo's time. I remember I did a report then. I was reporting newspapers then, I think 2005 or 2004, about this same issue of Nigerian embassies owing rent, owing money for parking fees. At the point, I think we were even thrown out of one of our embassy buildings also. So we still have that same problem about 20 years later. Oh, it's a shame. It's a shame. At this point, look, I was writing something this morning and I said, see what countries, developed countries do. They come to Nigeria, they take our crude, they go to their countries, they convert them into petroleum products and resell to us. Can't we do the same thing? We should rise beyond just, importation. Take these things that are imported, for instance, like textiles. We import bales of textiles from China. Why not turn these textiles into, different products and then sell to the world? We have fantastic designers in Nigeria and different other things that you can utilize, and you boost Nigeria's exports. Now, coming to the embassies, these embassies should actually be trading posts. We saw when Professor Bolaji Akiyemi was Minister of External Affairs, he talked about economic diplomacy. General Ike Nwachukwu, when he was Nigeria's Minister of External Affairs, he talked about economic diplomacy. That should be the basic thing, the basic, the fulcrum of Nigeria's, foreign policy. When former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Danjuma, T.Y. Danjuma, was given the assignment of redesigning Nigeria's foreign policy, I think by President Goodluck Jonathan, of course, he made fundamental recommendations. Let's turn our embassies to trading posts. After all, the British explorers, when they were coming to Nigeria and Africa, they were not coming here to come and just relax or maybe just have a come on vacation. No, they came here for trade, and that is what underpins international relations, international trade. You also be a participant. Stop this beggarly attitude of depending on aid, on grants. Look at international trade, robust international trade, so that you see these people will look. Because let me tell you, we import things from China where labor is more expensive than Nigeria. Labor in Nigeria is one of the cheapest in Africa. Because if you look at the CFA is ahead of the Naira right now. So that means labor costs in Nigeria are far cheaper than some African countries, than Europe, than China, than Japan. So why not encourage these people on the basis of labor, availability of cheaper labor, availability of raw materials, to come and invest in Nigeria, produce in Nigeria. 2 years ago, India set up a policy, make in India, not made in India, make in India. So they used it to attract investors to India. So say, okay, if you produce these things in India, we will give you, we will give you necessary incentives to export to the world. That is how serious nations play. But here we just relax, we'll just be touting reforms, and you cannot see any result. Go to like my brother has said, Lenin has said, you don't see seriousness in Nigerian embassies. Visit Nigerian embassies abroad. The same laid-back attitude you will see in offices, government offices in Nigeria. It's the same laid-back attitude you see over there. No wonder they are owing them salaries. Are they generating funds? Even people who want to change their passports, Nigerians who want to renew their passports abroad. Let them tell you the experiences. They even have to bribe. They even have to pay bribes to renew their passports. Why do you carry this despicable Nigerian mentality around the world? Are we not ashamed? When will we say enough is enough of a lot of these silly things that we engage in as Nigerians, and we think it's actually hurting us. This is hurting us. So let us rethink. These embassies should generate money. They should be trading posts. Yes, one of my friends was an ambassador of Nigeria to one Asian country, and of course, I was helping him to look through the magazines. His mission had a magazine. They were producing monthly. So at a point in time, I got involved in helping him to edit and all of those things. And I saw the way, how robust. I still have the copies, some copies of the monthly bulletins he was, issuing for them. He was visiting companies, marketing Nigeria, and all of that. But what happened? President Tinubu came in, we, record all of them, and now he's not been able to, appoint new ambassadors over 2 years. What are we doing? Micromanaging foreign policy. It will not help us. It's very sad. Thank you.
Very so sad and equally embarrassing, if you ask me. We do not know how far this would go. We would have thought, Nigerians would have imagined that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu would have been the best leader in Nigeria since independence, to have taken us out of all of this quagmire. But unfortunately, rather we have what Nigerians have referred to as a more debased situation. We do not know who will save us at this point. Internationally, locally, it's still the same story. Very sad reality it is. Just to let you know that both gentlemen, Lenin and Emeka, will be here to take us on our main conversation. That is when we return. Bayo Onanuga fires back at El-Rufai, says Tinubu achievement speaks for themselves. That in a bit is still Enterprise Morning. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so very much for staying with us and equally joining us. This is still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our main conversation for today. The presidency has responded strongly to recent remarks made by former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, who predicted that President Bola Tinubu will not win re-election in 2027. El-Rufai, in a televised interview, argued that Tinubu lacks a viable path to victory, citing poor electoral performance in key states and comparing the current administration situation to that of ex-President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan before his 2015 defeat. He asserted that even with access to state resources, Tinubu would likely place third in a hypothetical runoff, suggesting that the president is out of touch with political realities. El-Rufai, once a staunch campaigner for Tinubu, implied that power dynamics have shifted and hinted at a broader political reckoning. In response, presidential media aide Bayo Onanuga dismissed El-Rufai's claims as politically motivated, accusing him and others of being power-hungry politicians bent on destabilizing the Tinubu administration. Onanuga highlighted several achievements under Tinubu's leadership, including increased foreign reserves, significant stock market gains, a harmonized exchange rate, and inflation reduction over 4 consecutive months. He also referenced reforms in education and welfare, such as student loan and direct cash transfer. Defending Tinubu's performance, Onanuga contrasted the current administration with what he described as underachieving former governors, asserting that the president has laid a solid foundation for national prosperity. He warned that El-Rufai's own word would be used against him in future political campaigns, stating, "Save the video, we shall confront Nasir El-Rufai with it when electioneering starts." We still have Emeka Madunagu and Michael Lenin with us. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for being here. And I'd love to start with you, Michael Lenin. What do you have to say about all of this happening, especially with a former body of President Bola Tinubu, El-Rufai? I remember at the Chatham House many years ago, 3 years ago, it was El-Rufai that was helping President Bola Tinubu to answer some questions that President Bola Tinubu couldn't even answer when such questions was given to him. What is happening now between both of them, if I might ask?
Thank you very much. I think what is clearly playing out in the run-up to the next election is something many Nigerians are now familiar with, which is the whole politics in Nigeria, where someone can within a year change his position And you are to, I'm very sure, very certain that, I mean, in the next few months, especially, I mean, when the election draws nearer, we will have many rhetorics like this, people trying to align and also realign themselves into different camps. And that is clearly what we have here. Although I was discussing, about last week or so that, all this might appear a bit earlier. Judging that the president transition is just about, in its second year now. But in a way, that shows that among Nigerians, there's this desperation towards the next election. Nigerians are really presently now looking towards the next election. Just for a way out of the present administration, because many appears to have, in a way, lost faith and hope in the present administration, and are already looking at the next election to see out what can be done. Which is why these discussions now are happening in a very rapid situation. So, but the response of Mr. Bayo was also continuing to what Mr. El-Rufai said about the administration. According to El-Rufai, he said he had the calculation about how to defeat President Tinubu. And for many of us who are quite active, of course, he made reference to Jonathan, he made reference to some of the things they achieved with Jonathan, proving to us that it is possible to defeat Tinubu in the next election. And for what I see the entire situation now, especially the opposition parties, that there seems to be a crisis of opposition in Nigeria presently. Because if you look at the situation among the opposition camp, at the camp that Mr. El-Rufai belongs to, which is the ADC camp, together with Mr. Atiku and possibly Obi, and then also the PDP camp, which used to be the traditional opposition parties in Nigeria, which seems to also be in a form of inter-party crisis presently. And with the emergence of the ADC, that crisis itself at deepening. So that there's really a big crisis in terms of the opposition. But the problem for some of us is not really the opposition, because if you look at our history, the history of Nigeria, we've had many oppositions who have come into power and do worse than what they've critiqued. In fact, President Tinubu today stands as an example of why you don't really should put your faith in oppositions, especially oppositions who truly do not have the genuine program, who are not in a way genuinely opposed to some of these programs. Because if you look at the programs that have been implemented by President Tinubu, fight has led us into this crisis. Many of these elements, in fact, including Mr. El-Rufai, had campaigned for these programs. They've supported these programs before. So that we can then begin to ask what has changed. Have they truly have a change of heart, or is this just mere political game? And for me, I think it is still the same game we are familiar with. It is merely a political game. Political game is just to confuse many Nigerians too. So that which brings me to the point that what should an opposition party be like? What should be the programs of an opposition party? And just about 2 weeks ago, Okojo made some remarks about this administration, claiming that they've stabilized the economy. And since then, a lot of them have started praising the president, including the experts, the economic strategists. They've all come together to praise the president to say that he has stabilized the economy. But we've asked, what economy has he stabilized? He has simply stabilized the poverty level of Nigeria. Because a man made the exchange rate at just about around 400 naira to a dollar. He made the price of petrol about 197 naira, and now those things have more than tripled. And then you are telling us you are stabilized it because in the last 4 months we've not had an increment. But what has happened in the last 1 year, in the last 2 years to many Nigerians? Because the way they dished out facts, many statistics that really does not concern the common people on the street. Because what Nigerians want to, live in a secured country. They want to have access to food, to housing, to education, to healthcare, and other basic needs. So all of these are stuff that don't really connect to their immediate lives. Many people don't care about that. But of course, like I said, they are all political gimmicks because the president clearly has failed, and finally Nigerians are in need of way out. But I've always told people that people like El-Rufai, you cannot put your trust in them because within the blink of an eye, you can find them sharing President Tinubu again. They don't have shame the way they play their politics, and it is a big saddening situation for many Nigerians that the so-called oppositions are of this character. People like El-Rufai, Beshola, who have demonstrated some level of failure equally together with President Tinubu in the past. So, also that it is dangerous for us to believe whatever word they've said, even if you are desperate to replace Tinubu, because for some of us, what we want to replace is not just Tinubu, it's the situations that give rise to many people like Tinubu. Because without Tinubu, we'll have other persons who will come to, in a way, do worse or even do the same thing President Tinubu is doing. Also that the real oppositions must be those who are opposed to the policies genuinely, to the policies that have led Nigerians to this situation, and the chief of that is the removal of subsidy, which many of them have campaigned for in the past, both Atiku, Peter Obi, and in fact, the only problem is that President Tinubu removed it suddenly, because they said they will also remove it too. But the big question is that why is the country, an oil producing country, which in a way at the moment has no functioning public refinery? Why as a nation, why don't you have our own functioning petroleum refinery which can locally refine this product and ensure that they are available to Nigerians at very cheap cost, instead of the fraudulent business ties that we have with people who are middlemen, people who are in the business of helping us to ship our raw materials abroad, and then they then buy it from us, and then after sell it back to us, which was what gave birth to subsidy in the first place. What gave birth to it was that we do not have our own local refineries in Nigeria. Because if we've had that, there will most likely be no need for subsidy, which is the key issues that we ought to be concerned with. And many of these guys have not campaigned for that. What they have said is that, of course, subsidy should be removed, but in a way it should be removed gradually, which also, and either gradually or so, will create the same problem. So in clear terms, we have a problem of opposition, a crisis of opposition, and both Mr. Bayo and Mr. El-Rufai are merely involved in political games to deceive Nigerians.
Very true.
None of them have the answers to our problem, and even if they do, they are not ready to follow that path, because it's meant that many of them will have to give up on their opponent's lifestyle. They have to give up on the loot they've looted from our Commonwealth. So none of them, both the opposition and the ruling class, is to be trusted.
Very true. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Emeka Madunagu, there we have it from your colleague, Bayo Onanuga, which reminds me of Femi Adesina just a couple of years back. And right now, I do not know how relevant Femi Adesina is to Nigeria and to Nigerians and even to the media ecosystem right now. And that is why it's very important that we become careful of what we talk about and the people we roll around with. Emeka, what's your take on what Bayo Onanuga has said? I do not know if Bayo Onanuga is living in the same Nigeria with us, or maybe he is still in St. Lucia or Brazil. I'd love you to have your take on that, please.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Femi Adesina is the vice chairman of Sun newspaper, as you know, of the board. So it's still relevant to the media. As for my colleague Bayo Onanuga, I think he struggles to play the role of a spokesman, which he does in an adversarial way, not in a way of engaging issues, but instead, just like in a football match, you leave the ball and you are tackling the legs of the opponent. Mr. El-Rufai is, Malam Nasir El-Rufai is a Nigerian, and he is entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to his political views. And he holds, he is a former governor, a former minister, and all of that. So definitely he knows some inner workings of things in Nigeria. You see, let me just clear something. Subsidy was actually removed by Buhari, not Tinubu. Tinubu only came to appropriate it. Because if you look at the Petroleum Industry Act, it gave a timeline, a timeline for the gradual removal of subsidy, terminating by June 2023. Yes. If you go and look at the Petroleum Industry Act, it will be good, because even the media has helped to perpetuate this falsehood that Tinubu removed subsidy. No. It was to be removed by the end of June. The provision was to be made till the end of June for subsidy. Clear. But Tinubu just came, of course, in the manner of his administration, appropriating what doesn't belong to them, and just said subsidy is gone. No. It was already gone in the PIA. So let us, set that aside. The fact that Peter Obi article said they will remove subsidy gradually, it was already in the law. So unless somebody was going to come and ask the National Assembly, somebody was going to come in as president and ask the National Assembly to amend the PIA and insert subsidy, then that would have been a different conversation. Okay, be that as it may. You see, Bayo Onanuga, I pity him. Even within our circles as senior journalists in this country, in Nigeria, we've had the opportunity to ask people like Bayo Onanuga, at the president's age, go to NIPR. It was even a heated debate. There was a day on our WhatsApp platform of senior editors in Nigeria. We had a heated debate on it. We even suggested that they should go to Nigerian Institute of Foreign Relations to organize, a retreat, a training program for spokesmen, in the presidency and in ministries, MDAs, and all of that, to teach them the nuances of strategic communication. Look, I, as an ordinary Nigerian, the way I speak about an issue should be different from how a presidential spokesman delivers, issues about the presidency. Because President Tinubu is just a part of the presidency. The presidency is an organic body, a part of the executive. It's not the only unit of the presidency. It's a part of the executive. It's a part of the executive. So when you are speaking on behalf of the president, it's as if it is the president himself who is speaking. So you have to make sure that your views are nuanced. You have to make sure that your views tie with facts and figures. You saw the blunder that they made yesterday. They brought out an infographic. First of all, there were typographical errors in that infographic. They were talking about billions. They said brilliance. Brilliant. That is the new vocabulary from the Nigerian president. Brilliance. Then they now appropriated certain projects in the northeast, in the north central. They put it to northwest. And then they came out and said so and so, they spent so and so on southwest, excluding Lagos. But you are responding to Daily Trust that said you had spent 3.9 trillion on Lagos. How can you now be responding by trying to counter it and then you now exclude that Lagos? Are you not engaging in dishonesty, intellectual fraud? Now, within a few minutes, because people reacted so strongly to it, it was deleted. And do you know what? It was on the president's Twitter handle, X handle, that this thing was placed. Look at the disgrace. These people don't even understand. They don't understand the gravity of such things. because the whole world is looking. The whole world is watching. Sorry. You know, you posted something on the president's X handle and deleted it. Then look at the reviews. People saved it. People screenshot it. And then now started making reviews. You said a certain road, Kaduna Hunkuyi Road, is 156 kilometers. People who live within the area said it's 15 kilometers. So when you now claim that that's the federal government that is reconstructing the the Onitsha-Enugu Expressway, and you are pointed out, you are caught flat-footed there because it's a concessioned road project, concession to MTN, Nigeria Limited. So when you make all these unforced errors, it now dovetails into the way you react to criticisms of the president. You react as if you are somebody at the newspaper stand or at a bus stop or at a pub, a beer parlor, just engaging in pedestrian argument instead of engaging issues. You remember, what Comrade Lenny talked about, how they were arraigned for treason and all of that. Who was the one leading the charge? The chief of defense staff, General Chris Musa, who is not a lawyer. He was just talking continuously. I came out and said, listen, people should take this mic from this man. The man is embarrassing himself. He's embarrassing the government. This guy is not a lawyer. He doesn't know the difference between treason and treasonable felony. He just talking, blah, 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 blah. He was saying that the flags people were waving were Russian flags. And some people in the media even accentuated that stupidity, that falsehood. How are they become? Then you saw people weaving. Russia has been supporting Niger, so it should come on. You cannot put nothing on nothing. That is why we are intellectuals. We engage in arguments with our brains. That is why we do research. That is why we engage in the rigor of reading. One of my lecturers in university said, look, read, devour, be carnivorous in reading. Read widely. So you now come out and you are attacking El-Rufai. No, El-Rufai was just revealing something that rankled them. How elections have been won in this country in the past. How elections have been decided in the past. That's the thing El-Rufai wasn't saying. You get it? He said Tinubu will come a distance. Remember, the same El-Rufai recently brought out a result where which the Tinubu administration had not controverted. So let me tell you something. Over the years, it is a known fact that election figures, the results of elections have been manipulated. So when El-Rufai said that, he actually set a bait, for Tinubu's aid to bite, and sadly, Bayo Onanuga beat that bait without realizing it. Some have been going, how can Tinubu we score a landslide? Now look at the Rivers local government election, Rivers local government elections. They now beat the bait to show that yes, to even signpost what they plan to do in 2027. You now saw, even with the voter party, you saw stupendous figures. Because these people, they cannot read the room. They don't engage at the level of intellectual rigor. And that is why you see them, when they say things at times, when they do things at times, you just pity them. Because there is no intellectual content in these things. And which is sad. For instance, the time Bayo Onanuga and Daniel Boala and the rest of them, spent talking, attacking Tinubu's critics, they could spend it on marketing, on promoting his programs. Okay, look at something Tinubu said, some days ago about shea butter, that Nigeria, will stop the export of a raw shea butter. Now, the price has dropped by 40%. Arising from that, what are Nigerians to expect? It is private writers, it is people in the private sector who have actually even been engaging this issue. Nobody from the presidency has come out to say anything. Tomorrow now, they will gather all those things, they will plagiarize all those things, and then now say, Tinubu's reforms brought about this, without even understanding the issues. And that is the sad thing. It's unfortunate, really. So the issue of 2027, for me, it's too early to start talking about 2027. Nigerians are facing existential issues. You know, they want to survive. They want to take care of their families, you know. But all of those things, I think, will be unraveled, you know, in due course, will be treated in due course. And let me tell you, whether government in power, whether opposition, they are Nigerians. That was the question I asked one time on a TV program. And I said, are you going to go to another country to bring position? It's the same Nigerians. It's Nigerians from whom we, you know, it's Nigeria's political class, you know, who is from among them we will choose our leaders. So what we have to do is to join us together to get the electoral process, you know, upgraded, to make sure that the things that are missing in the electoral process are dealt with. Politicians will always engage in rhetoric. That is why they are politicians. Don't you see Donald Trump and Barack Obama and the rest of them, how they tackle each other? Didn't you see what happened in South Korea some months ago? Eventually, the president was removed, and some politicians wanted him to be arrested. But it was a court that came to his rescue and said he should not be arrested. And then look at between Donald Trump and Venezuela. You know, after abusing each other, now Donald Trump decided to send, after exchanging insults with the Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro, Donald Trump decided to send warships to threaten Venezuela. So it's like that. Russia and Ukraine, every day abusing themselves, every day throwing bombs at each other. That is how politics is, rhetoric. But the issue is that for those of us who are not professional politicians, who are in the civil society, we must ensure we avert the minds of Nigerians to the issues that matter. The issues that matter. While politicians are playing their games, let us point them to the issues that matter. Thank you.
Very so well, Emeka. You have actually, you know, said everything that we needed to hear, and that is exactly what Nigerians would have expected from the likes of Bayo Onanuga, who is taking charge of everything concerning media. There used to be Julie Ngalali, who was actually doing that job, but in one way or another, he was ousted out of that particular opportunity, and Bayo Onanuga is doing all the talking now without filters whatsoever. But Mr. Lenin, we have less than 60 seconds to go. I'd love to ask you, you did talk about El-Rufai, you know, still doing the same thing that we all expected he would do as an opposition. Most importantly, knowing that he was one of those that made possible President Bola Tinubu's administration. Right now, Nigerians are left with the devil and the deep blue sea. What do you think is the best bet now, 2027? Should we all just relax and pretend we didn't know what's happening? What do you think is the best bet for Nigerians now?
Well, thank you very much. And I think this situation is not entirely new, although the conditions might be quite different. Because I can remember in 2025, I mean, when Buhari was to emerge, I mean, in the election, sorry, 2015 rather, when Buhari was to emerge, I mean, people were asking, should we go for the APC or the, PDP then, as it were. And then the answer for, that I gave is, was that the needs of Nigerians, what Nigerians desire, it is impossible for Nigerians to get that within the current structure, both politically and also economically, that we have. And that's on the basis of when you study the programs and the policies of the two parties, they are not fundamentally different. And policies are policies, no matter the face of the person who is implementing them. Either the face is the face of Tinubu from APC or the face of Atiku from ADC. They will produce similar results. And which is the problem Nigerians have today. And for me and some of us, our proposal has always been that Nigerians need a true working class based political party which can reflect the true desires of Nigerians. And until we get that, we'll still continue to move around the circle.
But what do you think about what do you think about Sowore? What do you think about Sowore? Do you think he has what it takes to take Nigeria to where it should be?
Yes. My support, has always been for Sowore and the political ideas he represents. And I think that, for the next election, for it to be needed.
Do you think he has the persona of a good leader with what you've seen so far?
Well, like I said, on the basis of policies, Showore has distinguished himself. I mean, to be a bit fundamentally different from the mainstream. Politicians. He has campaigned against some of the policies that are championed by some of these figures. But like I said, it goes beyond just an individual. For us to actually get the nation with desire. What we need, like I was saying earlier, is that we need a political party that truly represents the desires of the people, not just an individual. Because Nigerians, we have this habit of waiting for a Messiah to save us. But the reality is that Messiahs don't exist. Of course, I mean, in our politics, Messiahs don't exist. So that what the task of rescuing this nation is the task of every Nigerian. Either you are young, either you are old, is a collective task of everyone for us to build a genuine working class party that truly has the programs to end poverty in Nigeria, to end homelessness, to end hunger, to end all of the crises that we have presently in Nigeria. And until we build that party, we build that movement, it is impossible for us to truly have fundamental change in Nigeria. And 2027 seems to be like a continuation of what we've had in previous years, because it will be an election where the most persons who will be involved will be people from the same ideas, the same thoughts. So also that you might fundamentally not have a different outcome from what we've had in the previous elections.
Thank you so very much. Emeka, my last question to you. You've discussed Nigeria, you've analyzed Nigeria, you've talked about leaders, you have lots of experience with Nigerian leaders thus far. If Nigeria goes to factory setting, let's say there's a default button that's pressed, do you think we can still get it right? Or we would see ourselves yet in another such situation like we have today? Emeka, are you there?
Yeah. You see, Nigeria's problems are not intractable. The solutions are there. What we need, is just leadership that genuinely cares about Nigeria. Peter Obi said he would dismantle the criminality in the oil industry. Hey, that is clear. Why has Tinubu engaged a private military contractor, Tompolo, to fight oil theft? Why? Of course, that acknowledges that there's criminality in the oil sector. So the point is this: it is okay, whatever platform we canvass and all of that. It is fine, But for me, the issue is not just about the individuals or the platform. The heart of the matter is about electoral transformation, not just reforms. Right now, INEC, security agencies, and the judiciary are the big elephant in the room in terms of having free, fair, and credible elections. And we need to deal with that. The beavers, the IREF, are still just footnotes in the regulations, INEC's regulations for elections. They are not in the Electoral Act or in the Constitution. That is a major issue. Then, in terms of talking about voter count, in terms of validating the vote, and other things like that. Look at what INEC has been doing. Suddenly coming up with fantastic figures from some states of the Federation. And then with these small figures from some other states. What is that? What is that? So those are the things we need to deal with first. Otherwise, it's not just about asking for these things to be put in constitution. No, they can put it and not implement it. But we must make sure that we get it right. We get it right. A situation where one local government in Rivers State, suddenly produced much more figures than the entire state produced in the presidential election. I mean, who are these people fooling? They never learn from history? What brought down the First Republic? What brought down the Second Republic? Remember Verdict 83, where FEDECO, the Federal Electoral Commission, declared outlandish figures for a presidential election. But did it last? The election held in October that year. By December, the entire democratic structure was sacked. These people have not learned any lessons from the past. So those are the things that those who love Nigeria should avert their minds to. Then when the next election, anybody can vote for whom they like. But we should be able to also make the process, reliable, so that we can also deal with voter apathy. We've seen that in past elections, the highest we had was around 40% turnout. But in Rivers State, even though we saw voter apathy clearly, they now declared that there was more than 50% voter turnout. Come on, it's not true now. It's not true. Even in the best democracies, you still have voter apathy because all over the world, people are tired of politicians and their rhetoric and their failed promises. So Nigeria is even worse. People are hungry. But what do they do now? They do see and buy. They so monetize the process that, you vote for their party, you just show them, you stylishly show them your ballot paper. And then when you come out now, in the last by-elections, we saw it was see and buy. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, depending on, how desperate they were. And so those are the things, vote buying, rigging, ballot snatching, those things must be dealt with. We must have an INEC that is reliable before we even start talking of, other issues, talking about personalities. And that is what we must insist upon. Not all this rhetoric by Bayo Onanuga, which we know surely he is ill-fitted for that job of presidential spokesman. He's ill-fitted for it, and it's clear. We've told him to his face, he's ill-fitted. Go and do a crash course with NIPR so that you can be better informed. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Emeka. Thank you so very much, Michael Lenin, for being here. We truly do appreciate you both. We can't overstate some of these things. It's very important that we bring them to the front burner so Nigerians would understand where we are and hopefully where we are getting to. If we must save the Fourth Republic, then we must get talking. People must speak out and real issues must be discussed. Like Emeka did say, the big elephants in the room, INEC, the judiciary, and security had to be taken care of if we are serious about the democratic process that we have. If not, we would have a repeat of what happened in Rivers State, possibly in 2027, which is not the desire of Nigerians. Thank you so very much both for being here, Emeka. Thank you so very much, and Michael Lenin, I truly do appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so that's just about the time we have. We'd love to say thank you to you for making this picture complete. Please do well to visit us. You can check up on everything we've talked about. You can read up on everything we've talked about when you visit us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.